Ken, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, great.
There's thin liquidity in today's session, obviously, without the US and China closed for the Lunar New Year holidays. But the challenge, of course, around the software space, around the AI rotation theme, where are we in that journey, do you think, Ken?
Yeah, right now the market is pretty spooked by AI and the job losses for the economy. That's the macro picture. But when you break it down, you notice that AI is disrupting almost every industry. It started about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I would say, Tom, where, it went after software companies, let's say your Salesforce and Adobe and so forth, taking those out. And then now we have lately companies like Microsoft. But what's really interesting is, if you go forward, last week was another round. It's like Russian roulette with AI going around different industries, whacking into them. Last week was wealth managers, Raymond James, Schwab comes to mind, LPL, all of them get hit pretty hard. And I think the final nail that's kind of pushing back investors at the moment is really the earnings. The earnings were, I thought, overall were pretty good, beat and raise, and usually you get rewarded for that. This time around, those raises, double beats as they call them, instead, stocks sold off sharply. So the reaction to earnings is even though it's a couple of weeks ago, I think are still bothering investors at this moment, saying, geez, what else can these companies do? Beat and raise guidance. And, AMD was down 40 and Amazon was down 40 and Meta was up 60 and then gave it all back a few days later. What is it going to take for the market to get more solid footing?
It's the level of uncertainty that I pick up on when I speak to guests around the desk, in the studio, and outside as well, about how to think about that AI disruption. When do we get more clarity? There's the view that how do you price earnings 12 months, 2 years out into the horizon when we can't really fully assess the impact of this kind of AI innovation on certain subsectors? How comfortable are you with that theme right now?
That's a real concern, Tom. I mean, Amazon spends $200 billion. I mean, before we were talking about CapEx, 10 billion, 30 billion, we kind of comfortable with that. That was a microphone drop. And so it kind of clearly shows that companies are not worrying about ROI the way we worry about it. Makes us money managers to take steps back, because at the end of the day, you have to tell your investors where this ends. What is it? Your goal is trying to get through the goal line first, and that's your present for doing all this. So yeah, I think a lot of these companies have to explain a little bit more to their shareholders what is the return on investment. You can't just spend hundreds of billions of dollars in this to come out first, because what do you get for first prize? We don't know.